Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Donahue, and I'm here with my brother, William Donahue. Welcome to the first episode of Tomorrow's America. We're here. It's the first episode. We're going to do a little bit of introductions. So, Will, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So my name's Will Donahue. I did a podcast before this, political type of podcast, and I am pretty much just a guy who I consider myself to be like middle ground. I'm America first. I love our country. I would identify myself as somebody who really got involved with just trying to find out the truth to begin with. And I've kind of settled into some of the things that the Republican Party believes in, but I wouldn't consider myself either party. Uh, Basically, just a common sense person that believes in this country and America and what our founding fathers stood for.
Yeah, no, common sense is definitely big. For me, my name is Richard Donahue. I am freshly 18 years old. I am now at the legal age of voting, so it's been a very big thing since Trump's inauguration to look into politics. I was a big Trump supporter. Um, over the 11, 12 months that he's been in office, we've seen not the best. He has promised a lot that he hasn't really, given us. He said no new wars, and we have not just bombed Nigeria, but we've also bombed Iran. And also we've been bombing Venezuela. So that's three countries that we've had conflicts with. I'm a far right conservative, slightly leaning towards authoritarian more than libertarian. I don't align with any parties, and the worst part is I'm going to have to, so I could vote in the midterms. But Republicans, Democrats, to me, if you're in Washington, most likely you're bought out by special interests and PACs, which is probably one of the biggest threats to democracy that I could see at my age. And I've also noticed that a lot of people my age are waking up and they call it conspiracy realism. Also, it's just more of we don't want to see all these lies that we're being told. Like the boomer generation has seen all of these lies and they've just believed everything because media says it. Well, now that we're in the social media era, I feel that everything's getting switched up and America first 100%. So those are our
Yeah.
introductions. We also have three other members that we will have on this channel. This is our podcast, me and Will, but we have my cousin Jeremiah, who is a very godly person. Obviously, we didn't really mention it, but we are very Christian. I'm
Yeah.
Catholic, so Will was brought up Catholic. I believe you practice Catholicism.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and we have Jeremiah Donahue, Michael Donahue, and Paul Donahue. So those are the three members that are not here with us today. But
Right.
yeah,
So
what do you say,
when
Will?
when I say I believe in the founding fathers and the principles that America was created on, I feel like um, that has Christianity baked into it automatically because we are a Christian nation and Western nation, and we believe, like you said, you're not really libertarian. I think you have a lot of libertarian views, and so do I. But um, just we need a strong person to bring those views, those values back to this country. And I think that in any other circumstance, like if our country was running good, we wouldn't need any authoritarianism, small lowercase a authoritarianism. We would, you know, be able to just follow the Constitution and have America run the way that it did for so long until these groups and these NGOs and these corrupt people started to change what we believed in. So, you know, I mean, that's not saying that all of American history was great, but America itself is a shining light of freedom that's supposed to, be this example for the world, and we've slowly given that away and sold out, our beliefs. So, um, I guess basically the point of this episode, also, this first opening episode, is for me and Richard to say what our beliefs are and our values and what this podcast stands for. So, we're just kind of going through that, just basically laying it out there today. That's the purpose of the whole show today.
Yeah, for sure. I think where the country has gone, we definitely need a sort of authoritarian to set us back on track. I listen to a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different people, from anyone from like Tucker Carlson, you know what I mean, Nick Fuentes, even like I watched Piers Morgan's show. He's heavily leftist. You know what I mean? So I like to bring in all viewpoints. I'm very young, so I'm very impressionable at this age. I'm getting a lot of my views sorted out. But our country was founded on Christianity, and slowly it's turned into, well, freedom of religion. Of course, you have the freedom of religion. You get to practice whatever religion you want. That's why America's so like great. But then it turns into, oh well, anything but Christianity. Then it's, oh well, Sharia law. Oh well, the Muslim call to prayer in New York City. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
just it's turned into something where it's not just a Christian nation like it's been founded on with the freedom of religion. It's turned into something where it's like, if you're Christian, then it's going to be weaponized against you and it's demonized. And I don't approve of that. Obviously, as a Christian,
right.
it's not something that you want.
We're not specifically a Christian nation
Hmm.
where everyone has to be Christian, but our nation has Christian values where we're supposed to have free will and freedom of speech and, you know, um, uh, different things like believing that children are innocent and deserve to maintain that innocence, and anyone who violates that breaks the law, or you know different things. So Christian values are very crucial for the West and for America to continue to be that shining light of freedom, that example for people. You can come in and have whatever religious beliefs you want, but when you try and impose Sharia law, that's directly antithetical to American values
Mm.
and Western culture just as a whole.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
And when it comes to coming into the nation, I am not anti-immigration because we have always had immigration in waves in American society. But for what we've done over the last even 20 years, but especially the last six, where we've taken in anywhere from 10 to 40 million illegal immigrants, that has never been done before. And slowly, well, not even slowly, actually pretty fast, we have become from a majority white nation to now white is actually declining, and it's becoming not a minority, but it's getting close, where, and that's not necessarily a problem. I'm not here to say that. I'm just saying that the way that we've had this, where you're getting pounded with immigrants and they're not assimilating. They're all first generation immigrants, which is, first generation, you're supposed to want to become an American. You want the American dream. That was the whole thing. Like go to Ellis Island. You know what I mean? Ellis Island is the cornerstone of American immigrants. That's where everyone went. You know,
right.
it's just not great for where we've came to, but that's another thing. I'm not anti-immigration, but I'm anti-immigration to the sense of where we're at right now. We need to close all borders, and people fighting back against ICE, it's a problem, because if you're here illegally and you're not assimilating to American culture, then you can't be here. You know what I mean? It's just simple.
So I'm not anti-immigration either. I don't know if you could see it here. It's a buffalo with a shamrock. I'm very proud of my Irish heritage and my family's past, and the way that we got here. Me and Richard are brothers, so my family actually came over here and fought in the Civil War, and we have a very strong history of people that came here and benefited America and assimilated. I'm still proud of my roots, but I wouldn't try and impose some Irish belief or system on a country that's not you know meant for that. But I
Yeah.
mean, it is still Western society, Ireland or whatever. But so I'm pro immigration too. But the way that immigration has been happening in this country, it's like we're trying to drink out of a fire hose. Where
Mhm.
it's impossible. You can't take that many people into the country that fast, and especially we took all these people into the country while COVID was going on. When we were the economy was shut down, um, and supply chains, everything was shut down, but we were accepting all these immigrants in, and we were also supplementing people's income with stimulus money. Think about it. If you owned a house and you lost your job, right? So you're not making any money,
Yep.
and then you also have to pay everyone that lives there or make sure that everyone's fed. So your bank account is going down super fast, and then you invite 20 people to come live with you.
Mhm.
Our immigration policies lately, uh, before Trump, were completely unrealistic and undoable for this country.
Yeah, and it's not even a left or a right problem because there's very leftist people, even socialists like Bernie Sanders, who are very pro borders. You know, I mean, you need to have a
Oh,
border or you don't have a nation. Where this isn't a Democrat Republican issue. This is an issue of just where the nation is and how we can stop this. We can't continue this track because if we continue this track, the American Empire, the Anglo-American Empire is going to fall off. And this isn't just the
oh, we lost Rich. He was
oh
talking about the Anglo American Empire. I'm not really a fan of the Anglo American Empire because we did sell out our country as a nation to England. And there is an Anglo American Empire through different treaties. I believe the Trilateral Commission or I forget specifically all the names of them, but we are kind of an Anglo American Empire. But I don't really necessarily uh like that we have these other nations, these alliances that we're bound to, because it does limit America, being part of a larger conglomerate. We're unable to operate freely as a nation.
yeah, no, me too. And I agree with you on that. The reason I said
Right.
Anglo-American Empire is because they are dealing with the same problems that we have, along with Canada. So the problem that is oh my goodness. This is a mess.
What's going on with your thing over there, buddy?
Mike keeps calling me. All right. Michael?
Oh,
Uh, Michael? Sorry. He is a part of the the program that we are starting, but the Anglo-American Empire, they are just pounding ourselves with third world immigrants from the Middle East. India. India is a huge factor in England, and this isn't just the United States or England or Canada. This is in total all of Europe, except for a few countries like Poland, which has, when you look at some of their statistics, they are having a very successful nation. Um,
Yeah.
we're just pounding ourselves with these immigrants where it's getting to the point where in 15 to 20 years there will be no culture left. Every country is going to be a Muslim country. They're incentivized in their religion to have as many kids as possible. They're coming to these nations, these European nations, and it's a sort of, I would almost say, a white guilt where we feel that we can't be powerful, or not anymore, but over the last 80 years we need to demilitarize. We need to invite all these third world countries in, and let them come to our nations. But the problem relies is America. We are a country of immigrants, in a sense, of European immigrants. But even in the 1960s, we were 90% white. So this massive shift that we've had is it's all policy. You know what I mean? And it's all these special
Mhm.
interest groups that want to almost open up our country. And the biggest one, which we haven't even gotten into, is APAC, where they have control and they have funded 93% of our senators. Which, if there's 100 senators, 93%, that is almost all of them, and that's Republican, that's Democrat, and that just shows that Republicans, Democrats, the media is pushing us against each other. But what we really need to do is we need to unite together against one power, which that one power is the government.
Right. Well, the citizens right now, we're supposed to elect representatives, and they're supposed to advocate for what we stand for. But if you notice, both parties, right? The American people want this, and that. Those couple things, they might be bipartisan issues that everyone can agree on, but somehow the government can never get it done. Never get it done. And it's, oh, we got to do this, and paperwork, and trust the process. It's going to take a long time. That all those issues are impossible to accomplish, and we've all been wanting them for years and years and years. But something that goes directly against what we believe in, and our representatives come up with an idea that no one ever asked for and no one ever advocated for, other than these PACs and these NGOs and foundations and philanthropy groups and corporations. um, they seem to be able to get what they want without any obstacles. So, that's where, like, corruption has become a huge problem, because now, instead of having representative government, we have corporatism, we have globalism, we have alliances that you have to stand for, or else you're anti whatever. Um, like, even NATO. NATO is a big problem for me, because NATO is expansionist and aggressive, and they're causing all of our so-called enemies to unite against us, and it's creating a divide right in the world between Eastern and Western culture that is so simple to avoid that it's almost stupid. Like you wonder why we have these issues, and then you start digging into it and you realize that all this stuff is like a diplomacy issue. Our
Mhm.
diplomacy sucks because we're tied into all these other alliances and all these groups that we can't even have diplomacy that advocates for the United States, because England wants to stay in the Ukraine war. The EU wants to stay in the Ukraine war, or Israel has a seven nation plan. They want to get rid of Iraq and Syria and all these countries. So, we're an alliance. We have to do what they want to. Well, if that goes against American ideals and beliefs, then I say, why do we have to? Why do we have to do that? Why do we have to do something that benefits another country like Ukraine or like Israel, for example, when all it's doing is pushing Russia and China closer together. And whatever we attempt, our sanctions, our bombings, our this, our that, is only helping our enemies and hurting us in the long run. Anyway,
Hmm. Well, yeah, and NATO is a post World War II alliance to stop Russian expansion. It was the Warsaw Pact that they had, the Soviet Union. This is an almost ancient history alliance, like for recent history at least. This alliance almost doesn't make any sense today.
right?
So
Well,
I don't
yeah,
understand.
ancient history. I get where you're going with that because all the World War II problems that this country had are non-existent anymore in
Yep.
reality. So it almost is like ancient history because the times have changed and leadership has changed, the
Hmm.
dynamic have changed, the roles of each country have changed, but we still, with NATO, we still act like the Sputnik satellites are spying on America, and there's the Red Scare and communism and all this stuff. But in reality, Russia has become a Western nation in a sense that they're Christian, they're aligned with us. They tried to join NATO. They gave up all their bordering territories when they were the USSR. They're not called the USSR anymore because they gave up all those countries to appease NATO. And then NATO swept in and took those countries, and now they're on Russia's doorstep threatening Russia, which forced them to need to try and use Ukraine as a buffer zone. So our diplomacy has forced Russia's hand to make an aggressive move towards Ukraine, which isn't tied to either alliance. Ukraine isn't tied to anything. They're isolated by
Hmm.
themselves, but somehow because NATO wants to expand right up to Russia's border, we have to defend them. But if the roles were reversed and Russia was pushing eastward, or well, I guess westward towards Europe, then they would be viewed as expansionist, evil, bad guys,
Yeah.
uh, and somehow the globalists want us to believe that despite us pushing right up to Russia's border and creating security concerns for them, we're still somehow not at fault. And
Yeah.
America is tied up in this. It almost reminds me of like if you went to the mall with a bunch of your friends when you were a kid, and one of your friends, steals something, then the security guards come and your other friends starting problems with the security guard, and you're standing there. Now you're guilty by association. What's the point of being involved with this friend group, or
Hmm.
saying, running out and saying, yeah, we, whatever, we bought that, or trying to defend these people when you're clearly in the wrong. And,
Hmm.
and it's making our country look bad on the world stage.
Yeah, America's supposed to be the big brother, where it actually seems like somehow we're the little brother. We go along with all of these plans that these smaller nations make for us. When you
Right.
look at the United States compared to Europe, I mean, we're bigger. England is like the size of New York. You know what I mean? Like we are 50 independent nations combined into one, the United States. We are supposed to be the global power that tells people what to do. Yet I feel that recently we've been just going along with what smaller nations the size of Rhode Island, nations that small, that they say this, we do it. It's a big problem, and especially when we talk about World War II. World War II has completely formed the aspect of the world that we have today. Um, this is an 80-year-old conflict. It happened 80 years ago, yet it still affects us so much today. Why is that? Like no other war in history has ever done that. World War One is like grazed over where no one even knows anything about it. Everyone knows World War Two. World War Two is the fun thing to learn about in school. No one knows World War One. No one knows Archduke Ferdinand, like unless you're a history buff, you know what I mean, or you have some background knowledge. World War One, it was just as devastating. Trench warfare, you know what I mean. The amount of deaths. We had 60 million deaths in World War Two, but now you look at it, we're treating Russia like it's the Soviet Union still. It's a problem. They wanted to join under Bush. They wanted to join NATO. They wanted to join under Obama. We told them no twice. Why? In my, opinion as an American, obviously Europe wouldn't want to do this, but as an American, I don't see why we should even be in NATO. They almost think that leaving NATO would make Russia go, oh yeah, we're going to go and invade Europe and blitzkrieg them, and Europe's going to be no more. Well, look at the struggle that Russia has had with Ukraine, and that who knows if they're going all out or not, but they're struggling with Ukraine. How are they going to invade through the Baltics, through Poland, to France? They're not going to do that, and also their economy couldn't handle that. In my opinion, I think we should leave NATO and they should make NATO the EU. If the EU was able to unite almost like a United States, where there are all these different states and nations, and they can combine into one conglomerate, well, think about how powerful that is. No one wants to mess with that huge nation. You guys are all separate countries, you know what I mean? But that would be perfect for them.
Going back, you said that no one remembers World War One and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, we're almost being hypocritical here, also in that like the history behind the whole conflict, we are opposite of what we started off. So Russia started off. They had a communist revolution, a color revolution, a huge genocide. And they expanded and they were massively expansionist and they created the USSR. And since then, they've gotten rid of communism, gotten rid of authoritarianism, became more of a Christian nation, became more Western, and we've done the opposite. So now we have in America, we've become a part of these big alliances. We've almost switched. We're socialist, which is basically communist. Russia and the United States and the EU have basically switched places since our whole conflict with Russia began. So the things that we set out to uh, end in Russia, we've adopted, and now Russia is more Western than almost we are, in a sense. And also, to talk about the EU is an unelected dictatorship. Nobody in the EU. So we are fighting in Ukraine to promote democracy for the EU that is unelected, and for Ukraine that stole their election in 2014 and hasn't had an election since the war began. So almost every point of the whole thing, we started off, it was a good cause, and then somewhere along the lines, we got blurred, and now we are almost doing the things that we tried to stop Russia from doing at the beginning anyway. So
Yeah,
what
yeah,
really is the goal? The goal of the whole Russia conflict is that Angela Merkel and the EU have this business plan where they think a 20-year war with Russia is going to save the European economy and all these deep underlying things that we could get into, more as the podcast goes on. Uh, we're part of this conglomerate of countries that doesn't benefit America, on the world stage, in the economy, uh, with our alliances, and created a, we've almost ended up in a position where now we have all these conflicts all over the world to help other countries that don't benefit us in any way, shape, or form.
yeah. And as we add Mike to the call, I want to hit on one point really quick. We are going to weaponize Russia and say that they are the bad guys, just like we have every war in history. The good guys won, the bad guys lost. I'm sure that's really what happened, but we're going to say that they're the bad guys, but no one wants to talk about how they said, okay, we can't join NATO, then just stop at, Eastern
Yeah.
Germany. Stop at Eastern Germany and don't have any countries on our border. Then we take Eastern Germany, Poland, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia. We take Sweden, Finland, and then we threaten them and say, Biden's idiotic, in 2020. Well, Ukraine would be a great addition to NATO. And,
Yeah.
from Russia's point of view, they're looking at it and they're like, well, we have all these citizens in Ukraine that identify as Russian.
Right.
Let's go quote unquote liberate them, and they want to threaten us with adding Ukraine to NATO. Well, we're not going to let that happen. And they're going to say that Russia's the evil people, but when you actually look on it as a worldview in and not just a Western brainwashed citizen, it's not all bad. You know what I mean?
Right. You're
Welcome, Mike Donahue, to the podcast.
What's up,
We
boy?
are in tomorrow's America.
How you guys doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Do you want to give a brief introduction on yourself and just your belief system, who you are?
Sure. My name is Mike. I'm a father of two children. I have one whining right now that I might have to tend to in a second, but I'm a pretty hard worker, pretty traditional guy. Got married very young. Started working from a very young age. Hold on one second.
Mike's a real man. Guys been through it. He's a hard worker.
Started working full time, from the age of 19, and have been pretty much living life like a 30-year-old since then. A lot of people that meet me say, I'm like not a normal 25-year-old guy. But Christian values, obviously Republican, and just trying to fight for a better future for our country and our kids.
Mike,
Yeah.
what would you say are some of the main, just be in general, the main problems with our country today?
I think it's just the way our civilization is. I don't even know what happened. It's weird because it's like parents.
We're like, we're like completely out of touch with reality, and we're all focused on emotions instead of
Yeah.
like actual beneficial
And
things.
the weird part about it is like the parents of this generation grew up in like the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. And you would think their parents being from like the 40s and 50s, I don't know where the change, where the, I don't know where it happened.
It starts with pop culture. I think the media is one of the biggest problems of today, where the people that are controlling the media are all the same people. If it's left, if it's right, if it's even children's media like Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, all this stuff's coming out where these Nickelodeon producers are we're touching the kids and we're pedophiles. That's not normal. That's not okay.
Yeah,
And from your point of view, what you were saying, I think it's almost like the tribal urge to work for your family, put food on the table. That's the American dream, to be able to work and to be able to provide for your family and be well off and have a great life. It's not all about convenience where, yeah, oh well, I just want to lay around today and I'm gonna do this, and then on the weekend I'm gonna pound 50 beers and I'm gonna just do all these worldly things. You need to actually put yourself in and look in the mirror. And when I look at it, it's just like, dude, you need to wake up. Are you providing for your family? Are you doing what's right? Are you living the way that Jesus told us to? That's the main thing for me. Yeah.
Mikey's a good example of that. Mike, you're like one of the rare cases of people in our generation that did get out of school, get a job, get married,
Mhm.
own a house,
Yeah.
uh, and that's really hard to come by nowadays. Rich, why do you think that it's hard to come by?
Right back.
Uh, why do you think that that's hard for people our age to accomplish?
Yeah, well, from my example and my viewpoint, I'm 18. I'm coming up in this generation. The people that I am going to school with, they're all let's go do this, let's go party, let's go to college and join a fraternity or a sorority and live for the world. That the thing that I think has happened over the last 100 years is we've transitioned from how society has been forever to now we're so technologically advanced, we don't need to go to the coal mines and work as 7-year-olds. You know what I mean? Now what's happened is people are actually taking a seat and getting lazy, where it's let's live for the world, let's do what makes us happy, and if we're not happy, let's go on depression meds, and that's a whole nother problem that we haven't talked about. It's
Yeah,
psychological and thinking that you are depressed. There are depressed people, and that's a huge problem. But thinking you're depressed, thinking you have anxiety, playing into it. The thing that I've noticed is if you believe you're oppressed, you will be oppressed. If you believe that you're not oppressed and that you're gonna go in your back's against the wall, you got to provide for your family. You're gonna provide for your family. It's all mental. I noticed this in even
yeah,
sports that I've played. If you go in and you're like, oh, this team is so good, like we're screwed. This team beat this team by this much, and this team hasn't lost. You're done. But when you go in and you're like, all right, we're gonna kick their butts, we're gonna go in, we're gonna dominate. It's over. Like we're gonna play together as a team and prove something today. It's all mindset. It's the way that your mindset works, and I think it all comes down to media. You know what I mean? It's the media.
yeah. So to piggyback off Mike and you,
Mhm.
society does cater to the weak, and we've created all these exit ramps for people to, say that. Uh, I've seen some crazy stuff. There's people who say that they have separation anxiety from their dog, so their therapist actually gives them a letter of recommendation that then they could go and get their whole life subsidized because they're disabled because they would have so much anxiety from being separated from their dog that they can't work or whatever. That's ridiculous. A country that is willing to accommodate people with a weak mind like that is not going to stay together very long. And then to piggyback off Mike, what he said about the media and things like that, where did we go wrong? I would say realistically, where our country went wrong is after the JFK assassination. So Richard started off the podcast saying that saying that we are um, we are uh, living in this false reality where things are, you know, things are sorry guys, I kind of was losing track.
No, I got you. You're saying like we're living in this false reality because of what World War II has left us. We're
Yeah.
now where we're at.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
oh, oh, that's what you're saying. Because
Yeah.
conspiracy realist. So
Mm-hmm.
after JFK was assassinated, they the CIA coined the term conspiracy theorist. So, just to dispel all questions, a conspiracy theory is a thing. So if two people planned to do something and then they did it, that's a conspiracy theory. So saying that, let's just go with the government story about 9/11, saying that a terrorist organization planned to fly a plane into a building and, and destroy the building, right? That's a
Mm-hmm.
conspiracy theory. So if you have an alternate theory about it, or an alternate set of facts, you're a conspiracy theorist. But the government itself is conspiracy theorists because they theorize that there was a conspiracy for Muslim terrorists to destroy the World Trade Centers.
Mm-hmm.
So having an alternate conspiracy theory doesn't make you a bad person when everyone's theorizing about the conspiracy. But just, we might have a difference in opinion about who the conspirators were that carried out the attack. So the word conspiracy theory is garbage anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
aside from that, Mike, you were saying where did we go wrong? I think after the JFK assassination, the CIA coined the term conspiracy theorist to talk about people who believed alternate theories about the JFK assassination, which later were declassified that the conspiracy theorists were actually right about the magic bullet and the two shooters and all those other things. So the whole premise of conspiracy theorists is bullcrap. But then the government kept spinning off of that after the JFK assassination, and they created an operation that also was declassified, Operation Mockingbird.
Mm-hmm.
And the CIA actually went in and became news anchors to uh, misinform the public about world events that were going on and to push certain agendas. So you look at like Paul Ehrlich and basically feminism. A lot of these things that are brought to us as pro. We're trying to help you. We're advocating for you. Have turned into ways for our society to open up their wallet to the rest of the world and give everyone money. And for us to feel like we are, good people. Oh, we gave this African country money or whatever. So we could virtue signal and feel good about ourselves while we're being sold out by our politicians.
Yep. And that's the thing where now, and this is this generation, so they say Generation Z, even millennials, and I would even say Generation X has been able to wake up to what's actually happening. It's the boomer generation that really just believed everything the government said, believed everything the media said, because how would the media lie? You know what I mean? They're on TV, they're telling the truth. It's this current generation and the two generations before it that are actually starting to wake up and see, well, now that we have social media, this stuff isn't all true. It's just the narrative that they're saying. I almost view it as like J.K. Rowling writing Harry Potter. That's kind of what the government's doing to us. You know what I mean? They're writing a false narrative that we just need to go along with and believe, but no one's doing it anymore. You look at even since the 1990s, we spent $10 trillion in the Middle East on wars. $10 trillion on wars of debt. Now you look at where our national debt is. Sorry, we're climbing the 40 trillion, and housing prices are ridiculous. You know what I mean? These generations are seeing that what we're getting out of our politicians is complete BS, and the technology wave that we've gotten has actually woken people up to radicalize them. You know, radicalize when people are getting radicalized, that's not necessarily good, but it does mean that something's going to change, and change is what we need. You know what I mean?
It
Well,
can be good or bad. Go ahead, Mike.
well, I just wanted to say whatever. I mean, the technology era really screwing everybody up, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm even guilty of it because I definitely fight a phone addiction. Like, I don't want to be addicted to my phone, but I could go like, all of a sudden I'll be hours into just not doing anything, and I'm lazy and I feel like an idiot. But you know,
Yeah,
some people don't get that realization, and that's just how they live their life.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
they really did a good job of like making that like normal life and in everyday life. Especially, you get up, you go to work, you sit in an office, stare at a computer all day, and then you come home, sit down on the couch and watch TV or look at your phone all night. You're not doing anything. And
right.
they have you where they want you when that's your life.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, and that's
exactly
not life. That's not
Mhm.
what life is supposed to be. Life is experiences. Life is living in the moment. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff that we could be doing. Where I mean, even to quote Alex Jones, people we should look up to is like Isaac Tesla, or not Isaac Tesla. Sorry, Nikola Tesla. Isaac Tesla is pretty sick too. Nikola
Keep
Tesla
your mind
was one of the best people in history. You know what I mean? Why don't we read his books? Benjamin Franklin. You know what I mean? Why don't we read their books? These people have books, yet we want to idolize, right? Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber. Even I fall victim to NFL players like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. These are players that we idealize. We put them on a pedestal. You know what I mean? We look at them like they're so amazing. They're just people too. You know what I mean? They're people like us. They're entertainers, but we get that we're a part of a team. We're gladiators. I back the Dolphins. We're like, yeah, let's go. The Dolphins are gonna win this Sunday. That's us. Like our insides telling us like we need to fight for something. It's all dopamine. We're losing the dopamine war to the government. Bad. It's really bad.
That's the thing. What Mikey said about being lost in your phone, and what you said about the sports stars and all that stuff. So we get lost in our phones and we get caught up in all this pop culture stuff, and it's really putting us right where you would want someone to be if you want someone to be controlled and not know what's going on. And
Mhm.
then with the sports stars and all that stuff, they aren't even good role models anymore. Like
Mhm.
like Muhammad Ali was this classy figure that people could look up to and aspire to want to be. DK Metcalf just punched a fan in the face. How does that look for a youth football player who wants to grow up? Or the touchdown celebrations and all this ridiculous stuff. It's not setting a good example for society. And then to go off of what you said, Rich, inside of us, we have an instinct. So if we're in a village and there's an outside threat, you want to put on your war paint and go fight and have protect your culture, your society, whatever. When we like the Roman emperor said, give them games
Will, you're
and one
muted.
me.
When
I
Rich
am.
left, you went on mute. Could you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Huh.
You
Can
just
you hear
cut
me
out
now?
when Rich left.
Can you hear me now? No.
I don't know where Rich went.
this isn't being like
I still can't
directly.
hear you. I don't know why.
You're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you. I don't know.
It's my phone. Well, I guess we take a short break and wait for Rich to come back because whatever he did screwed you up.
Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Rick,
Rich,
Hey.
when you left, the whole show
I
got
can't
screwed up.
I can't hear you guys.
Mikey, you can't hear?
When you left, Rich, I can't hear either one of you since you left.
I could
Oh,
hear you.
shoot.
I could hear you.
Here, I'll
I
leave
can
and
hear
come
Mike
back.
as well. Here, let me try this. How's that?
I'll leave and come back. Hold on.
All right.
Hey, Ranch.
Hey, welcome back, dude. You know, honestly, to take a step back really quick, um, I think this show has been very successful with us trying to get our baseline viewpoints. You know what I mean? Our baseline viewpoints of what we believe in, who we are, how this show is going to move forward. You know what I mean? I think that we've done a really good job. I think that our values have really been pushed out, and people will be able to see and understand where we're coming from. I hope that people can realize, like, yeah, we're like, I know Mikey said Republican, me and Will far right, just you know what I mean, in the same sense. We are very normal individuals. We are not these crazy politicians that are online. We are not like psycho and think that if you don't agree with me, then we're gonna freaking fight right now and all this. It's like, no, that's not what it is. You know what I mean? If you're a hardcore woke progressive liberal, I can have a conversation with you. We don't agree on a lot, but we can agree that we want to have America be successful, and that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? I think that conversation is one of the biggest things that we're missing in today's society, especially when it comes to politics. I mean, and political violence is a huge problem. But I think that, if we can all sit here and have a normal conversation, we don't all agree on everything. You know what I mean? Say I'm a little more authoritarian than Will, and Mikey's more centric on whatever. You know what I mean? We don't all have to agree on everything, but it's just having conversations and having a common goal that I think is going to really propel us to, the next level.
Did you guys do any sort of introduction to what this channel is going to be in the beginning?
No, we didn't.
Probably should talk about that.
Yeah, so that could be our last topic before we
Okay.
end, because we are hitting the hour mark. So let's get into it. Me and Will, we've had this envisionment for, what would you say, like half a year, almost a year.
Yeah.
We've wanted to make a podcast. We were always thinking like America First Media, all this stuff. But we never really followed through. And what happened was, I believe it was Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I think it was Christmas Eve. We were talking. We're like, we should actually like start a podcast and get everyone together. Because I was like, we were talking about how our family, we're all different people, and how we all can like come together and do something bigger. So we create this group chat. And it's me, William Donahue, Michael Donahue, Jeremiah, who's Chut, and then Paul. It's three brothers, two brothers. We're all cousins. And we want to come in and bring all of our best qualities to one channel. You know what I mean? Me and Will are very political. We have very, very strong beliefs when it comes to politics, and we are very godly. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm speaking for me. I've been working on my faith a lot recently. Read Genesis, read Revelations. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get very close to God, because you never know when the rapture is going to happen. Michael lives every day like he should. He's the American that's living the dream. Jeremiah is the most godly person I know, and Paul is one of the strongest people that I know. So we all could come together and make something great. I feel like that this could be something that's like really special.
Yeah. I think our overall objective is to create not only just a podcast, but more of just like an organization of people who have different strong suits and believe in this country and believe in Christianity and Western culture and law and order and justice
Mm-hmm.
uh, are all things that our country's gotten away from. So I think that the main goal is just to put this out there for people to hear so that we can start to see things clearly and get back to those values that made our country great for so long. You know, our country is basically living in the shadow of its former self and of its former reputation and relying on those things that, you know, people assume that we still believe in, but we as a group here know that we've gotten away from those things. So we're trying to just reach people and touch people and let
Inspire.
them let them hear somebody else say the things that most people are already probably thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should also too, you know, show like a example of like the lifestyle, like
Mm-hmm.
think waking up, contributing to society, eating healthy, exercising, being a strong man that,
Right.
can you could protect your family if need be, or you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
all part of it. Reading the Bible every day or as much as you
Yeah.
can. I think that also should be included. Just not only for everybody to watch us, but for us, as individuals to keep each other accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole internet, however big this channel ends up getting, keeping us accountable. And because if we could do those few things, and you guys, study the politics and whatever, I think we could really do good.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of what you said, you said being a strong man. I view that at my age, that is one of the biggest problems of society, where I see a lot of people online bashing women and saying that the women aren't shit and whatever. They're bashing the women. Where from my viewpoint, I don't think that it's the women. I think it's the men. The men are not strong men anymore. They're not leading by example. They're living for the world. They're weak men. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. We can't have these weak men coming in and doing what's wrong and then expecting their women to do exactly what they say. It's not how it is. Biblically, the man will lead by example and the woman will follow through. Obviously, society, everyone's equal, you know what I mean? But it's
Right.
it's 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 that the man needs to set an example and be a good person overall, and that's just not
Right.
what we're having. We don't have that anymore. A lot of men are very weak minded. They cave to themselves and they cave to the world, which we could do another episode on actually what caving to the world means and living for the world compared to living for God and yourself. But it's just it's not a good example, and especially for the kids too. If you're a weak man, you know what I mean, you're a weak man. Obviously your wife, you're not going to have her like fully believing in you. If you're a weak man and you're getting ran over, and then you're not setting a great example for your kids either. Like to have a strong male figure, a father figure, is one of the most important things, along with having a beautiful, caring woman as a mom. You know what I mean? It's a very important thing, and that's one of the biggest viewpoints for me, is that a mom and a dad having these pillars of your foundation of a child, that is one of the biggest things, and that's one of the biggest things that is actually wrong with today. That's not the government. The government has a lot of problems, but it's also the parents, just giving your kid an iPad for 2 hours because you want them to shut up. That you can't just do that. You know what I mean? Maybe a little bit of iPad time, and then making sure that they're working on their motor skills, and then you're showing a good relation, or you're giving a good example with you and your wife, and not fighting in front of the kids. It's a huge thing. You know what I mean? And it's something that everyone needs to work on. even if you're really good at it, no one's perfect. You know, everyone can constantly work on themselves.
Yeah, and it's something that you have to be dedicated to and committed to, because I'll tell you what, with 2 young kids, it is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Try to stay patient and try not to, I want to wake up in the morning and like go and like do something. Like I want to go hiking or snowboarding. Like that's just me, or playing golf. When I have to just hang out and play Barbies with Emma, or take care of the baby when he wakes up a couple times a night, it's tough, man. And
Mhm.
it's the easy way to just give him the iPad and
Yep.
just so you can just do your thing, but it's really a commitment. And I think in the long run, obviously it's not like that forever. So in the long run, it'll pay out if you put in the work when they're young.
Yeah. And that's the next generation of Americans that, we're essentially making this podcast for this generation to create a better America for that next generation.
Yep.
And then just off of what you said, Rich, about the men do need to be strong. Also, women need to be strong in their own way. And a big problem with the women is that our society has promoted feminism,
Mhm.
the way that they call it feminism. But real, true feminism is somebody like a mother who, sacrifices and makes a home for their family, and is a matriarch that is strong in a household. So if you wanted real feminism, you would promote motherhood. You would promote all these things, not shaving your head and being a career woman, and
Having armpit hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Those things aren't feminism. That's called masculinity. So they've made feminism into masculinity, and at the same time, society has made masculinity into weakness, where you watch TV and the dad is so dumb and lazy and sits on the couch and just watching TV, and the kids and the moms in the TV shows always do something against the father, but end up being right, and the father was too dumb. So our society is pushing men to be weak and women to be, the authority figure, which is not in line with human nature. For aside from the last 100 years, all of human history has been the same until recently. And just recently, we've become this backwards, evil, immoral society of virtue signaling, social justice warriors that if if you put them on a desert island and had them form society the way they want to, their society would go under in about 10 minutes. So, we need to get back to the things that the Renaissance, exploration, innovation, all the founding fathers are a product of this great Renaissance, and uh free will.
Oh yeah.
We created this society off of uh compounded system of the best of all of historical knowledge being compacted into one thing, which is our American Constitution. I literally had one here a minute ago. Our American Constitution is the greatest document ever created, because all of history and morality and Christianity and all these things were poured into it, and we've literally gotten away from that and chosen to be this new society that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking God out of society. That's what happens.
Yeah, and another thing, Mike, that I think is important to say on our first episode here. You said a man who should be able to, defend their family and all that. The Second Amendment is a huge thing also that I think this podcast stands for because, aside from people who fell victim to society and are weak-minded and use violence and uh choose to be violent
Mhm.
criminals. Aside from people like that, there's people like us three right now who, to be honest, I have 2 guns right there, 3 guns right there, and 3 guns right there. So what is that? Almost 10 guns
Yep.
in
And
the
I have my
room.
hunting rifle at my feet right now.
Yeah, and I've never thought about using them in any way other than hunting
Never.
or self-defense.
Right.
So the people who can be trusted and there's people who can't. And once you prove you can't be trusted, you know, then you shouldn't be able to own a gun anyway. That's already the law. We don't need more gun control.
Yeah.
If you're a felon, you can't own a gun anyway. And most of the crimes that are carried out with guns are done by felons who aren't allowed to have a gun anyway. So the law, even that law, doesn't stop crimes. I think good people with guns stop bad people with guns. And we've chosen to give the responsibility of good people with guns solving the bad people with guns problem over to the government, and they've proven time and time again that they can't handle it, and we deserve the right to have guns so that someone like Mikey, who has 2 kids, can actually protect those 2 kids instead
Hmm.
of those kids being another news story, of someone who's a victim of violent crime, you know, it,
Yeah.
it, in America.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And it's just simply something that people need to understand is if you and this is just like my gonna be my final statement, but if you take away the top 5 most violent cities of gun violence, America goes from the most dangerous country, with gun violence to I think bottom 3. It's that dramatic of a drop where this isn't a gun problem. It's a urban problem. It's a city problem. It's the urban area. It's a culture problem of these areas. These cities used to be beautiful places of innovation and of industrializing. We were the industrial revolution, the factories. Henry Ford was paying his workers $5 a day, $5 a day. Backed by gold, that's $150,000 a year. You know what I mean? So it's not what America used to be. You know what I mean? And when you take away the urban gun violence, America doesn't have a gun problem. You know what I mean? It's just the cities and the gun violence there. That's really the issue.
And it's almost allowed because they let violent criminals out of jail
Hmm.
with no repercussions all the time, and create victims
Hmm.
out of people that should have never been victims because the person we are so worried about the criminals' rights that the good people who are victims of the criminal lose their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness because our government is, catering to weak people who, have proven that they can't operate or function in a society as a good person anyway. So we need to get rid of some of the
Hmm.
more recent reforms to the justice system that you know there was all these justice system reforms and then a direct increase of violent crime and rape, murder, theft,
Yeah.
you know
Yep.
It's a direct correlation.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
No, for sure. I think that America is at a crossroads where it's either we fix it now or it's over. You know what I mean? And the nation will fall. So we are in a crucial point, and that's another reason why I believe that we started this, and we feel the need to inspire people and show people like our beliefs, which we view as truth, and that we need to push people towards the right path. This is a scary point in history, especially as an American citizen. We have not been in a situation like this since, I mean, even 1776. Like this is a bad spot to be in. But does anyone else have anything that they want to add to the first episode before we end up ending it?
I'm just looking forward to it. I think we're gonna have a good thing here, and I'm excited to do something with you guys. I think we'll
It's,
have a good
yeah,
fix.
yeah,
for
it's
me,
gonna be sick.
I guess for me, my final thought would be our show is called America Tomorrow, right?
Yeah, America tomorrow. Tomorrow's America. We still have to figure it out, but something along the lines of that. Yeah.
So looking at tomorrow, you know, we have all these problems already
Mhm.
going into basically a world where there's going to be AI and high powered missiles and drones and facial recognition, surveillance, and all these things. Uh, I think America really and the whole world in general needs to have this conversation before we go into this next phase because it's really just going to be a mess for
Yeah.
everyone and everything. And we could get into like Agenda 2030 and what the actual written plans are for the world in the future in a later episode. But you know, we need to realize these things now to help us to avoid being like a herd of sheep just pushed into the pen and or into the slaughterhouse, because
Mhm.
we think that it's the right thing to do, and end up obviously what happens in a slaughterhouse,
Yeah.
end up, being hurt in the process
Mhm.
of just going along with the norms and the status quo.
No, 100%. And that is what we're here to do. Americans under God. That is the channel name. Our podcast is Tomorrow's America. We are focused on what's going to happen and how we can change it. We are here, and we are going to let our views be known, and we want to build a like-minded group of people that are willing to put everything on the line for our freedoms. You quoted John Locke. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's huge. Or maybe that's Montesquieu. There's so many different people that we need to, even Voltaire. You know what I mean? There's so many people that we could look up to from history that we got here, we made democracy. We're not going to let them take it away from us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's to conclude our first episode of Tomorrow's America. Thank you to Will and Mike for joining me on this beautiful day. It's a great day outside. Beautiful occasion. I'm really excited. But yeah, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, baby Mike.
Little
Oh,
Oh,
make his appearance. He was screaming in his room. So
oh, dude. Yeah, we're making America good for him. His
yeah.
future. He's gonna be able to buy a house that's under $300,000. Jeez. Hey.
all right, guys. Well, I love both of you guys, and
Okay.
anyone who's watching, I love you too.
Yeah.
That is my goal, is to help benefit humanity. So,
Yeah.
spread the love and spread the channel and share this with people who you think might agree with us, or spread it to people who you think might need to hear this message to break through the cognitive dissonance and the brainwashing that people have really fallen victim to.
Yeah, we're here to have open and honest conversations with all parties. You know, if you are a socialist, a liberal, a conservative, a communist, whatever, you know, fascist even. I mean, those a lot of people have these different beliefs, but we're here to talk. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And you know, let us know if you like this episode. Let us know what we could do better, what we did good on, and even put your beliefs in the comments. So yeah, thank you for joining us on this first episode of Tomorrow's America.